U.S. Olympic gold medal match between the United States and Brazil, 11 a.m. Eastern on NBC. Super hyped for this one, and to help us dive in, we are delighted to welcome in our very good friend, the one and only Sandra Herrera. Good morning, Sandra. How you doing?
Hey, good morning. I'm hyped. Just one more sleep. I'm very, very excited for the gold medal match.
No kidding. Sandra, it feels like we're back. You know, it just feels like the narrative has kind of changed around this national team for the women. And I'm just curious to get your take on what this moment means in terms of the way that the United States is perceived. You know, it's kind of like we slipped a little bit, but now it feels like we're building our way back. What would it mean for the United States to win a gold medal tomorrow?
Look, the vibes are completely different from last summer to this summer. It's like maybe you made some bad choices last summer, but you learned from that, and now you're thriving in this new summer. We've been talking about this new era for what is it, 3 months now that Emma Hayes has been on the job, and there's a little bit of they're back type of energy, but I think there's a counter argument to be made if it ever really left, and maybe it just needed to be some of those changes or some of those adjustments that needed to come into play to ensure that this team could just sort of remind not only the world, but themselves that they are truly capable of always getting to these moments and competing in these types of tournaments to find those next titles or those next medals.
Sandra, I think this Olympics for the U.S. has kind of been a tale of two phases. The group stage, where football-wise, the United States showed different facets of their game. And then the knockout stage, where it was more about grinding out the results, staying in the game, suffering. That seems to be what Emma Hayes has been talking about, right? Going the extra mile, finding that next shift in gear. Now in a final against a Brazil that has shown in the knockout stage, for them it's kind of like swapped almost, right? They beat Spain handedly, obviously, given certain circumstances, but they look strong from a football perspective, not from a mentality perspective. How do you think the U.S. can find what they did in the group stage to show up and beat Brazil without suffering so much?
I think that's a perfect way to put it. And the gold medal match will be the sum of all those parts. And it's very indicative and representative of what Emma Hayes has been preaching so far. I think as soon as she got here, we heard a lot of the same narrative from her coaching staff, and even the players. The framing and phrasing was all the same. It was about believing in the processes of things, the player onboarding, the learning, the absorbing of tactical learnings and things like that. And now in those knockout stages, we're starting to see a little bit of that difference. Now she's talking about pain cavities and fighting through things. And it's a good shout to Brazil as well, because they've looked like a different Brazil a little bit in their knockout phases as well. Maybe not having Marta had forced the coaching staff and the players into some uncomfortable positions, and now they're showing who they are. This is a Brazilian side that is not afraid to play defense at times and maintain an organized shape, and they're also not afraid to bring the physicality when they need to, alongside all of the things that we know about them as Brazilian players and Brazilian football, being technical on the ball and bringing flair. So now they're kind of bringing all things together in two complete packages. So I think it's going to gear up to be a really exciting gold medal final, because we've got two programs that are really kind of in the midst of sort of taking that next step in their respective national team programs, whether it's the Emma Hayes effect and getting back to the highest level, and Brazil showing that they've always been here all along and they're going to compete too.
I feel like it's our fault. Didn't we let Brazil through as the third place team by beating Australia? This is our fault. Now we got to face them.
We should have let Australia tie
draw
us. Yeah, at the very end.
Man, this is our fault. Also, I peep game. I see you wearing a Chicago Red Stars jersey.
That's
Emma
right.
Hayes. Nice shout. My question is, if you were managing Brazil's national team, do you start Marta knowing that the run they've been on without her? What do you do with the Marta situation?
It's tough, man. I got to say, it's one that I think is going to present some question marks for that coaching staff. I think you have the globe, right? Saying, well, Marta's back, and that means that she's available for selection. She should be in this starting lineup. She has talked about how this is it for the national team, although who knows, the 2027 Brazil World Cup could mean anything. But she has talked about how this year is supposed to be her final year for the national team. So there's a lot of focus on that. Maybe the coaching staff will try to use that to their advantage, because these last two knockout games specifically, this Brazilian squad has looked incredible. We have to give a special shout out here, in line with Marta, to Angelina as well. Her Orlando Pride teammate has absolutely been covering so much ground in that middle third for Brazil. Adriana as well, another Orlando Pride teammate. I think that middle third of Brazil is very, very special. And the coaching staff has to ask themselves those questions as well. Are you going to bring her in to start? Or maybe you bring her off of the bench? You're asking me if I'm the coach. You got to go with what's working. And I think maybe, just maybe, you bring your icon off of the bench.
Sandra,
hold on. I just want to say real quick, do you think the U.S. is it yes or no? U.S. prefers Marta starts?
I don't think they care, brother.
I like that answer.
No, good. Sandra, so much is made about this front three, and rightfully so. They're scoring goals for fun. Trinity Rodman is looking more like the Trinity Rodman we see in NWSL with the Washington Spirit. Sophia Smith, match-winning moments. Now Swanson. But Sam Coffey, that's the player that I want to talk about. I love what I've seen from her. How important is she to the U.S. women's national team, and what does she allow the rest of the team to do when she's playing at her best?
Massive. I think we got a taste of that a little bit in this Olympics, how that team can function or maybe not function without a Sam Coffey in place. I think we have found ourselves on all of these incredible shows on Golazo Network. When talking about the United States women's national team, we have sung the praises of the back line. We keep talking, rightfully so, about that attacking trio and everything that they've been doing. And maybe the midfield has got left out a little bit in that conversation. And Sam Coffey is the bright spot in that when we finally do find ourselves talking about that middle third. I think she's going to be crucial in terms of linking up play for connecting lines, especially when they're looking to spearhead attacks. And they already were once without her. They don't have to worry about that again. I think she's going to be a big key factor for them going into this game, especially with everything that I just discussed about Brazil's very promising midfield of their own.
The front three anointed themselves triple espresso, but the real coffee's in the midfield.
Oh, no.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Wow.
It's a good one. No.
I actually like that.
Not a bad one.
That's good.
Yeah, that's I was thinking about it.
That's really good.
She's so,
I'm so glad you got to unleash that right now with me present.
Oh, my
Incredible
God.
stuff.
Sandra, I feel fully confident that the United States can pull this one off. But if for some reason it doesn't happen, if they are resigned to the silver medal, do you think that it changes the narrative at all, or the hype that we've been feeling about kind of this new era of U.S. women's soccer?
I think there will be pockets of the globe that are rooting against the United States and maybe trying to throw some hammers on some nails to kind of maybe quell some of that. But I think Emma Hayes and her arrival, she did a really good job sort of setting this team up for the Olympics. And that included maybe some of the narratives around the teams going into this tournament. She kind of quelled and tempered some of those expectations while embracing the concept of this is the United States women's national team. I'm not here to completely change its DNA. We're just trying to evolve. And maybe said, look, all these processes are going to take time, and we're going to compete. And so maybe some folks were looking at this team to try to get out there, get out of the group, and perhaps maybe medal. What that color looked like was going to be up to them. So maybe there's a small layer of overachieving throughout the way, but the fact that they got to this gold medal match, I think is beyond, comprehension. I think for folks who are maybe looking at this team in such dire perspectives. It's amazing what can happen in just the course of a year, let alone 3 months with a new head coach on the job. And not only is this team back in a major final, they're doing it in the Olympics, where they haven't reached a gold medal match in multiple cycles at this point. They were bounced in the quarters in Rio 2016, Tokyo Games. They had to settle for a bronze medal, and it was a return to the podium. Now they have an opportunity to get a gold medal for the first time in 2012. So if people want to, look at that as overachieving, that's, their prerogative. But I think if they go out there and grab that gold medal, it's going to actually be not only a return to the standard, but for the new players and kind of these first Olympian type of players, it's going to be that moment for them to say that, yeah, we've been here, but we've arrived.
I guess it's just a quick question with regard to the rotations. We've seen long, bouts of non-substitutions being made. Talk to me about whether you think Emma Hayes might regret that coming into this final versus a team that's used heavy rotation, maybe even needed to use heavy rotation because of all the injuries.
Yeah, I don't think Emma Hayes is someone who's going to be full of regret. I think the decisions that she's made so far have paid off, and maybe they've looked painful at times, but the fact that she's present, has a presence of mind and be aware of that, I think says a lot about her in terms of not only a coach, but her philosophies in general. Knowing that this group was going to have to deal with probably some really ugly games, maybe even some long grinds because of the type of tournament the Olympics are. She knew to maybe keep the team on task, having meetings about pain caves and making sure that this team was ready for those types of moments. And not only are they going into this gold medal match, but they're doing it on some really long games where maybe they have had to feel some of that pain. So I don't think she's going to be full of regret. I wouldn't be surprised if we see her preferred starting 11 going into the gold medal match. If this is the team that has been getting it done along the way, I absolutely think she's the type of coach to go ahead and keep that trust with those players to bring that home.
Amazing insight as always, Sandra. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us this morning. Stay hyped, my friend.